National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
You're going to call anyone that loves you. You're going to ask them if you can use their card to buy concert tickets because your card's maxed out. Okay. If they say yes, you get the tickets.
I can't call my parents because they already think I make bad financial decisions. Well, so I think I'll call one of my friends.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous. I feel tingly.
What's your not answer?
Giovanna? Yes. I was on SeatGeek earlier and I saw 2 tickets for Olivia Rodrigo at a really, really, really good price. So oh my God. I maxed my credit card out by accident last week. Do you think I could use yours to buy the tickets? Oh my God, yes. Did I what?
Yeah, you got the tickets. You got the tickets.
I just want tickets. We're going to go to the concert together. Giovanna, I'll call you later. Love you. Thanks for picking up. Oh my God. I'm going to see Olivia Rodrigo.
Yes, thank you, SeatGeek.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, it's time to experience the O's on the Original Sports Podcast.
Fellas, what's going on? Happy Tuesday evening with the OSP. What the hell does Rasheen have up in front of us? That shit is scary. What is that? What is that?
Oh, I'm sorry. That is Cause. K-A-W-S.
What is it? What is Cause?
Cause is an artist. If you check out K-A-W-S, check it out. Give it a look. You guys might not like it. It's kind of like a, I don't know how to explain it, man. It's like Bear Bricks. You know, it's just something I collect.
Very nice. How many of those you got?
About 5 or 6. They get kind of pricey, so I can't keep up with it like that.
They all look like that. They're just white or just one solid color with X's on their eyes.
They're all different colors. It's different things. I gotta send you guys like the email of it, like Bear Bricks. They're different. Like most of them are.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. No disrespect, Sheen, but we got to keep it a buck. You spent money on that shit, and you said it gets quite expensive. Think about some of the dumb shit we made in 2nd and 3rd grade that our parents kept because they loved us, but we know it looked like jack shit. Now guys are making big money on that. Those were whatever that was. We didn't know what it was, but it was white. It had X's for eyes. And Dream, as well as other people, pay decent money for it. That's it. What the fuck are you doing?
Spending money.
Stupid.
He likes it. Maybe someday it'll be worth a hell of a lot of money. What do you think?
Maybe, yes. There's a chance.
Fellas, we got a lot to talk about tonight. All kind of shit happening in sports. Where do we even start? Let's start
quarterbacks.
Let's start with quarterbacks. We got a list of guys that are either on the bench, traded, or maybe both. And my question, or shall I say our question that we're going to tackle, is what led to these disappointing results at the lack of NFL quarterbacks development. So here you go. Anthony Richardson, 22 years old. Bryce Young, 23 years old.
Small.
Trey Lance, 24 years old.
Sad.
Justin Fields, Will Levis, 25. Zach Wilson, 25. Mac Jones and Kenny Pickett, 26. These guys are not productive at all. Well, Fields is okay, but now he's on the bench. What's the problem here?
I want to touch on Fields. Is Fields' problem that he went to Ohio State and he didn't have to do progression. Like he could come out and say, okay, my stud is over here against whoever playing him. That's where I'm going. Is that possible? I don't know.
So from that perspective,
well, don't forget, I've been saying it for a while. A lot of these guys their talent was so much better in college. Right. So you know what I mean? They didn't have to
knew where they were going.
Yeah. And think about this real quick, because in some of the things, like as Barber's going over at this list, I think it's personally there's no development. Nobody but you guys can answer this, and you know, when you study it, you know, Mark maybe will give us the best answer, being a coach, whatever have you. They say they invest, and you guys pay more attention to draft. Okay, so they take these guys in the first round. This is our future. That's how they're looking at them. This is our future.
Right.
But why do you think they're cutting them after a season, 2 maybe? And if that's your future, why are you saying, well, we expected you to be the man for the next 8-10 years, if not longer nowadays, because they whatever. But seeing that you're not grasping it first, that we don't want. And even the bet, we all know there's going to be a curve, you know what I mean? And there's a transitional period in the NFL. Why do you think they're rushing these guys to play? Then when it doesn't pan out, why are they cutting them? Why are they cutting them so soon if that's supposed to be their future?
Well, it all starts with the coaches. And the expectation and the pressure on the coaches to produce right away when they get the job. There's no development of these teams. There's no, okay, here's a 3 or 4 year plan. We want you to work through this 3 or 4 year plan. If we don't see it coming together after 3 or 4 years, you're gone. They don't do that anymore. You get 2 years tops. Look at the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. He coached 9 games. And because Caleb Williams sucks, they're saying it's the offensive coordinator's fault.
Was that Getsy?
No, he was already gone.
Yeah, Getsy was out in L.A. and he got fired.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For the Raiders. Was it the Raiders?
Yeah, he was with the Raiders. He got fired 2 weeks ago. But now you got this guy, 9 games. The players went to the coach and said, you know, hey, this guy ain't cutting it. You need to move on from him. They went to the coach and said this. I read this today. They not only did that, but they went to the coach and said, I think you should give what's the kid's name? Paget. Yeah.
But he won the Harlan Hill Trophy. He did. I understand it was Division II, but he did work.
We want him to have a shot.
Yeah.
So they don't believe. Obviously, they don't believe in Caleb Williams if they're doing that kind of stuff. These are professional guys. This is professional guys. DJ Moore and those guys that are going there, obviously, and saying this. So, you know, I mean.
So, I mean, all of everyone on that list that you mentioned, was 7-8 guys. They've all had success at the college level. Getting drafted and being thrown to the wolves there, or whatever analogy you want to use.
Yeah,
it's a much more complex system. Hence, Chops' statement about, or whoever said that, Sheen, just you're number one, and your number 2 is probably better than their number 1 corner.
Exactly.
And you can just Russ Wilson moonball it, and they'll run under that junk, right? But all these guys expecting to be the number 1 on a starting NFL team is kind of unacceptable. And whenever Chops has also made this point many, many times in many, many previous shows, they're under no one's tutelage. They need to sit, and it is difficult when they're being called to step up, be number 1 in a complex system, and not even know the X and O's behind that team's system. It's a lot to take on. Kudos to those quarterbacks that can. Mahomes.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead, Dream.
Do you guys think, is it different from when guys like Marino and them came out and that they came right in and did what they did? Is it different? You think it's different from back then to like now coming in? I think the complexity of the I think the complexity of the systems that they run today make it much more difficult for a quarterback. And I'll tell you why.
They ran the ball more when Marino and those guys played.
Yeah.
Okay? They don't run the ball now. The Steelers run the ball. The Ravens run the ball. The Colts run the ball. You can name the top 5 running teams, and then it's a huge drop-off after that. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to teach those linemen their run blocks and have the quarterback hand it off and set up the play action. Why do you think the Steelers are doing so well? Because Russ is good at play action and they're getting yardage on the ground. Whether it's with Najee, Jalen Warren, it doesn't matter. They're getting yardage on the ground. They're one of the top 5 rushing teams in the NFL. They might be one of the top 3. So their production makes it easier on Russ. You know, he's always been known as a play action quarterback. He successfully does it. Shit, you talk about the moon ball sizzle. I mean, that thing was so beautifully thrown. That catch was so prettily made that it was unbelievable. But yeah, you're right, Rasheen. Like the systems are hard. I listened to Chris Samuels when he first came to Northwest. He had some high-end talent. Kid who's starting at Maryland right now. Another kid who went to Shepherd as a freshman. And Shepherd's a really good Division II football program. He went there. Well, he played with Bajette. His terminology that he used, he got from the guy out in Los Angeles, their buddies. It was so complex. He had so many words in it. It made it very difficult for the quarterback to understand, for the rest of the guys to understand. So I would have the kids draw it up on the board for me because they come to me, hey, you coached, help us with this. They draw it up on the board, and I'd say, when he calls this play, he wants you to do a dig. When he calls this play, he wants you to do a post corner. You know, like it's really simple to call plays. It really is. But not many today, Josh. But it's very difficult to understand when you start tagging words on there. You start tagging words on there. And they're like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't understand. Why is he telling –
But hold on, Mark. A couple of different things. Now, the running back for the last few seasons, well, actually, like quite a few seasons, has gotten denigrated to he's not valuable because the league has become so pass happy. But that's helping with the better. And you look at the quarterbacks who are winning the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And so, but also in that aspect, with the passing game being so easy, they believe they can get running backs for a dime a dozen. So yes, a lot of the teams successful running games are doing well because we always do go back to basics. But I remember when your boy Chucky, Chucky Gruden was coach at Tampa Bay, and he was on Hard Knocks, and they were showing his play calls. Those play calls were XZ Raider. They were hard then. Now I don't know if I had heard this. Your guy's boy at Washington, he is truly dumbing that down, for lack of a better term, for Daniels. He said his play sheet is no bigger than like a birthday card, and he keeps everything simple terminology. And I'm like, I don't understand. If it was simple in college for him, why do you guys feel like you have to make it harder? I don't understand why play cards want to make it harder.
And the thing with Caleb, it's weird because it was kind of the opposite for Richardson. When they benched him, the players were like, "Oh man, we want Richardson in there." Well, yeah. One of the coaches, even I think it was from the Vikings, came to him after the game, hugged him, and told him, "Hey, listen here, keep your head up. We believe in you." Or I don't know. I'm like, you play for the other team, but I don't know how you believe in you. But
yeah.
But here's the thing. So, but you guys knew this more than I did because I hadn't really thought about it. Mark would bring it up a lot. He, as in Richardson, played 10 games. He started 10 games in college, okay? He wasn't a great quarterback. Hell of an athlete, but wasn't a great quarterback. Everybody was shook. And his mama was surprised that he went number 4 overall. So you took a guy who went 4, which nobody saw coming. You took a guy who only had 10 starts in college.
And that's all he has in the pros.
Yes. You had a guy that wasn't even a great quarterback. He was a great athlete. So why are we shocked that this dude is not progressing. And let's not forget, if you go over the first 10 games, he still has more wins than Trevor Lawrence had in his first 10. But it's something real quick, Mark. You brought up Elway and Marino. Those guys started from the jump, but their offense, they really did look that good in college. However, they had to take their lumps. You know what I mean? Now, guys, Sizzle, you mentioned Mahomes real quick. Look, fellas, let's not forget, Mahomes sat 15 of the 16 games his rookie year because your boy Smith still started.
Alex
you know
Smith,
what I mean? Carson Palmer, he sat. I don't know why they don't say everybody's on a rookie contract. Let him sit on his rookie contract. Let him sit for that first year. Because if this guy can learn and you end up having him for 8-10 years, maybe win a chip or two, it's worth it. I just didn't get it.
Let me ask you this. Who was Mahomes' college head coach?
Kingsbury.
Yeah. Who's calling the plays for the Washington Redskins?
Yes, that's Kingsbury.
There you go.
He's dumbed it down. I hate to say dumbed it down, but he has made it. I was reading. He has made it super simple for Daniel. He
wanted to go. He wanted to go to the Bears. They didn't hire him. He wanted to go to the Bears.
Kingsbury.
He wanted to go help Caleb there, and the Bears told him they didn't want him, and then Commanders took him.
We know the Bears is a terrible organization. I hate to say that, but they haven't had a good quarterback since Sid Luckman. Fellas, none of us were alive when Sid Luckman played. Think about this, though, real quick. I know it stands out to me with Richardson because he wasn't a great quarterback in college. He's not a great quarterback in the league. Caleb Williams held the ball too long in college, but his athletes were better, so he got away with it. He's holding the ball too long now. And remember your boy coming out of USC, Darnold. He led the league in turnovers coming out of college. His first year or two in New York, he led the league into. But what happened? He gets to go to other organizations, sit back and learn. Now both him and Baker, they're coming on like gangbusters.
But is it necessarily they went to other organizations, or is it the fact they went to better coaching? Did they go to coaching? Did they go to organizations that have coaches that took their tools and applied them to the system that they have in?
With that,
Darnold isn't that far off from Cousins, to be honest with you. He can't move that well. He's got a big arm. He probably sees the field really well. You know, what's the difference between him and Cousins?
Cousins is super. He's good. Good, sis.
Of these eight, which one? Just pick one. Do you think the maturation process is going to do them right, and they might turn it around and have a career like Darnold is having this year?
Sis, don't forget, Darnold got blasted his rookie year when he said, "I'm seeing ghost out there."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm seeing ghost out there. And let's not forget, Darnold was also at Carolina, a terrible organization, and looked like hell. But now he's in Minnesota, and
maybe not the best example. But of these eight, which one do you think would be able to turn it around, be the starter, and have somewhat relative success?
Unless they keep Flacco with the Indianapolis Colts, Richardson's not going to have a veteran to learn from, so he's going to step back. Bryce Young,
it has to be Fields because Fields has already won games this year.
Yeah, and the fact is that Russ is sitting down with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He sits down with him, and he says, hey, listen, this is what I did here. This is what I looked for. He shows him the tablet. Fields is engaged with it. He's on the sidelines paying attention. I mean, Fields wants to learn. You know, it would not surprise me if they signed Fields long-term and signed Russ one more year. It would not shock me if they
or a 2-year agreement and cut him after one. Fellas, I said it before, and I'm still standing by it. Steelers have the best quarterback room in the NFL. Not only did I think that because both guys could start. Think about it. He sat Fields when he was 4-2, and I didn't think it was the right thing to do. Now you sit a quarterback that's 4-2, and now you're a better offense, fellas. And doesn't matter what happens, because if something happens to Russ a couple weeks, let's hope not, but I guarantee you we'll see a different Fields when he is back in the game. I guarantee you, and I believe
hell yeah, he's going to be hungry. He's going to be real hungry.
And I believe he's getting reps after practice and during practice. I believe we're going to see a different field.
Yeah.
Hey, fellas, let me introduce you to Joshua Dorr. He always jumps on the podcast I'm on Monday nights, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Excellent guy. He's a big hockey guy. He was on Monday night. We talked Panthers. We talked a little bit of Penguins, even though it was a baseball podcast. Josh, we are kicking around the idea of putting something together for hockey. A lot of us know hockey. Even though we're Penguin fans, we're very deep into hockey as well. So, yeah, stick around. More guys are jumping on from that show. D-Laws. Yeah, good group of guys. Yep. Thanks for coming on, fellas. We appreciate it. Love having you here. Fire away with your questions anytime. The last thing I want to say, and then we're going to move on, boys. I do think Will Levis, at the end of the day, is going to have a good career. He's got so many tools. He's He's big. He's strong. His arm is there. He needs that quarterback coach, that quarterback whisperer to help him.
But also, real quick, also in the same token, why are none of these guys hiring quarterback coaches during the offseason to work on themselves? That's what I do.
Not only that, but why are we hiring guys that are our friends that can't get the job done? That's the problem too. You know what I mean? You might have to hire somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
They do, though. They do hire quarterback coaches. The problem is they just teach them technique and fundamental. They don't teach them technique and fundamental on how to apply to the offense that they're going to lead or the offense that they're leading, if that makes any sense to you. Pickett had a hell of a quarterback coach out in New Jersey, but that doesn't matter if he's just teaching you technique and fundamental. How can you apply that to the offense? That's where the bottom line is.
Yeah, okay? Yeah. I think Shane, it goes a lot. You've hit on this a lot too. Nepotism, right? And it just, if you could bring me in, you trust me, you know I'm going to do what you want me to do, I'm going to do that. You're taking a big risk if you bring someone else in, even though they may have a reputation of winning or grooming these guys to get them ready for that next level. You're taking a big jump. Leap of faith, right?
Then if that be the case,
I think that's what's going on.
Then if that be the case, and then why don't some of these guys pay ex Brian Billick or Fossil, some of these guys who were considered offensive gurus or had good offenses to help me, because they have to have big old movie screens, jumbo screens in their home. Help me read these defenses. Help me see what I didn't see, rather than just teaching me technique. That's what I don't get.
Hey, fellas, they ask if we're all barbers, and somebody said, no, I think Mark, Josh said, no, I think Mark's the barber and they're the clients. That's why it's the Barbershop crew, fellas. That's why it's the Barbershop crew.
I just responded. I do cut my hair sometimes. I cut it yesterday, by the way.
Looking smooth. Looking smooth. I do see that hairline receding back, though, my man. I see it going back. You're getting the LeBron thing going on. Hey, let's move on. Week 11 football. Going to be a good week, man. Going to be a good week. I heard today, Sizzle, I'm lucky I bought my ticket for $250. I heard today, Steelers, sky seats, top of the stadium, $300. $300.
TC, you owe me another 100.
This is the biggest Steeler-Ravens game since the one where Antonio Brown did the stretch out little joint. Yeah, this is it right here. That's leading off. Right now, who is the team though in the NFC that we're looking for?
Detroit.
Well, we got the Lions, we got the Vikings.
I mean, I don't know if I'm sold on Detroit.
What?
You got the Commanders.
What are you sold about?
Hey, Big Glenn said the tickets for Colts and Bills last week was $200. That's a hell of a hefty price tag. Is that to see Josh Allen? Because I know it ain't to see Flacco, Big Glenn. I know it ain't to see Flacco.
Chops, what you sold on? Tell me what you're sold on besides St. Brown what are you sold on?
They don't have a number two.
Well, hold on. They have a great running back. regardless of what we think, if they do or don't have they have speed at their running back. Hold on, fellas.
Whoa.
Their defense.
Wait, oh. Before you go any further, be careful at how you're using adjectives. But go ahead.
Their defense is not. Their defense is. They don't have Hutchinson anymore, and they're still winning. They're still rolling. My thing would be whoever you say you would be sold on. Okay, even if you're sold on, you like the Chiefs. Man, sometimes I think the Chiefs this year are going by the saying it's better to be lucky than good.
Hey, Chiefs are the 2020 Steelers, my man.
Yes, I told Mark. Yes.
They're the 2020 Steelers. They're going to get beat. They're going to get embarrassed when they get beat too.
I believe that
That's
myself.
what's going to happen.
But Christmas Day in Pittsburgh.
That might be it.
They just came back from what 17, 18 down. Dog,
Lions ain't beating anyone. Chops. I'm not sold. Sorry.
I watched that Monday night game until half, and the Texans dominated that game from every aspect.
They did.
They dominated it from every aspect. I'm not sure what they talked about when they went in that locker room at halftime, but that should have been a continuous ass beat in the second half because Detroit didn't know what to do. They couldn't figure it out in any aspect of the game, special teams, defense, or offense. And I was kind of like,
but they kept plugging away. Yeah, because I did the same thing. I turned it off at half, and then I turned it on literally 2 minutes into the fourth, thinking let's figure something out. And when I'm like, they're tied up.
Shane, you said that the Lions didn't beat anybody. They beat the Vikings and the Packers in their division. Those are divisional games. You know everyone's hyped up for that.
The Packers, not sold. The Vikings, I ain't sold, bro.
It's a divisional game.
Buying.
There's 2 games between the 3 of them.
Who are you sold on then? Who are you sold on? If
do you think all the best teams are in the AFC this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Who?
Okay.
Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers.
The Ravens defense has given up more ass than the freshman at the prom.
I agree.
You can't be sold on them. The Chiefs, now, how can you, big dog?
I'm sold, Chuck. Next topic.
Once playoffs start, there's no way they're going to be able to continue to give up time because the defenses will get better. And as much as we love Lamar, I need to see you do something in the playoffs before I just anoint you another MVP or the crown, whatever have you. I'm not sold on the Ravens. Hell, now that this is, I'm feeling better about the Steelers versus the Ravens because
it's coming to a head on Sunday, Chops.
So as long as the Steelers stay close, Ravens going to give it up in the fourth. They're going to give it up.
We talked about this earlier. Also, the Bills clinched the AFC East, right? They're 8-2. They're 8-2, and they're not being hurt. No one's making any noise about them. Do they make a big push for this now? Who they got? Did they making a push?
They're pretty healthy too. The Bills. What's his name? Amari Cooper. He is not. I don't even think he's played very much for them yet because he had an injury when he went there.
He isn't.
So that's going to be interesting. Hey, did you guys catch this little? How about this shit from B-Loss 22? Guys, I'm in my Tesla right now, and it's driving me to the titty bar on its own. Damn, got to get yourself.
Which one? Where are you, and which one are you going to, my friend? You in Atlanta? Are you going to Magic City, or are you in Miami and you're going to Rolex? Which one?
Hey, Big Glenn said this about that game last weekend. He lives in Indy. Okay. He said, yeah, it was for Josh for sure. A lot of Bills fans came to town. Colts are awful. Big Glenn, let us ask you a question. What's your impression of Anthony Richardson? Should he be under center or should you stick with Flacco? Tell us what you think. You could use the chat. We'll put it out there for you. But
there's no way Richardson should be starting.
Listen, I kind of agree with you, Rasheen, though. I kind of agree with you in that the AFC really has the teams this year. I don't buy into the Ravens. I'm with you on that one, Chops. I think their defense is garbage. I really do. I think their defense is trash. And the clock is ticking on Lamar, by the way. Lamar has missed practices the last few weeks because of his knees. The clock is ticking on Lamar. You heard it here first. Okay? It's ticking. Hey, Micah Parsons made an alarming comment about his own teammates, fellas. Teammates, players, coaches on the Cowboys over the last 2 or 3 weeks. We already said he's a trash person. Is he destroying that locker room or speaking out on what the locker room already thinks?
Before you do that, put Big Glenn up there. He just answered.
Oh, okay, I do see that. Big Glenn said AR5 can't be any worse than Joe being in the game right now. Colts got more problems than who's starting at quarterback. But you know what, Big Glenn? They have such a nice team around that offense, to be honest with you, with Pittman and I like Pierce as a third
Jonathan
receiver.
Taylor is,
JT.
Tariq Jones.
Yeah.
I just made that up.
How about Joshua Downs?
Yes.
Okay. I think they have a nice looking offense. I don't know what they're doing defensively. All I saw them play was that one game against the Steelers that, was kind of abysmal in and of itself with Flacco shredding that secondary. But that it's interesting. I really do think that if they're not going to get that kid some help, Big Glenn, I think they should just let him play and take his lumps.
Yeah,
he's not Jamarcus Russell.
That's what they did with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning took his lumps. So
he's not Jamarcus Russell, fellas. Let's face it, he's not. Anthony Richardson, but he's also not C.J. Stroud. Okay, so look at it from that perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
right. Back to Parsons, fellas. Is he destroying that locker room, or is he saying what other people are saying who are afraid to talk? What do you think?
I think that the locker room's already fragile. Fractured. Forget fragile. I think it's already broken. And I think he is saying what everybody thinks. Everybody knows your boy McCarthy's a lame duck. He's been a lame duck for a while. We know that's why your boy Jerry Jones will not hire a coach that has ever had true success, or at least a coach with a backbone. Yes, McCarthy won a Super Bowl. You know how long ago that was? And this is the NFL. It is a what have you done for me lately league.
Yeah.
There's no way Jones will hire a coach that has a backbone. And I think your boy said what everybody's thinking. I think it was dirty what he said about McCarthy. I don't know if it was dirty, but it was out of line. He shouldn't have said it. And he even, when him and your boy was the D-back, number 7, Diggs, they were going over the top quarterbacks. They didn't even mention their own. They could at least say something like, well, we're not going to put our own guy in.
Does that mean he's not respected the locker room? Hey, we're going to find out what they think about that guy in that division right now. We got Jason Myrtetus joining us. This is a Philly guy. I'm pretty psyched to talk to a Philly guy. He's Flyers, he's Eagles. What's going on, Jay? What's happening out in Philadelphia?
This is the only barbershop I've ever been in when only one guy's got hair.
Wait. Which one? Who has the hair, Jason?
I don't know. Let me see you, the dream. Let me see your hair. You got hair up? You got a nice hairline.
That's painted on. It's one of those.
Troops went back a little bit. They receded a little bit. They gave up the front line. They gave up the front line, but they didn't give up the whole territory. T. Sizzle's got a nice head on him.
Yeah, look at that, John.
Yeah,
our other guys.
Yeah.
We could show a movie on my head.
Yeah, I gotta cut mine. I feel like if I have any hair, I feel like I have an afro like the Jacksons in the late 60s. I cannot have any hair on my head. Can't do it.
So you got to get lucky, though, and you got to have a head that can pull it off, right?
Yeah.
Because some people, they shave their head, and I'm like, dude,
man,
put a sock on that thing or something. You got knots and lumps. It looks like somebody took a 9-iron and got a divot on there.
Barber only has one sock.
I'm not going to ask about that.
All right. We'll leave it right there. Hey,
Jason, appreciate it, man. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, man. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Fellas, before we jump into Jay, I do want to put this up there. I think this is kind of interesting. Ellen Perales says, as a Cowboy fan, that locker room has been battered since '94. Ever since Jimmy Johnson left the organization, it's gone to hell.
No, that's not true. They won a Super Bowl with Barry Switzer.
Yeah, right after.
Yep.
But did they win a Super Bowl, or did those players win the Super Bowl in spite of Barry Switzer? How about that?
Well, probably more of what you said, for sure.
Neil O'Donnell was the MVP, really.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he threw that pick. Was it Woodson, Charles Woodson, that picked that off?
2 picks, brother.
Yeah. I remember that Super Bowl.
Larry Brown had 2 of them.
That's right.
Yeah. That got him boatloads of money from the Raiders, and then he just disappeared into the abyss.
He just kept running.
Yeah.
I mean, the joke in Philly about Dallas is that if they want to watch them play in the Super Bowl, they got to do it on like a Betamax or a VHS tape because it's been that long. They don't have digital copies of them in the bowl.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Exactly. Hey, Jake, what are you thinking about Thursday night? Coming off of this Steelers-Washington game, The Washington fans are just bitter as hell because they think that Ertz had his knee down in front of that line, even though there's video proof, there's still photo proof. All that shit's out there to prove it. He was behind that line, and it should have been the way it was. What do you think about the Eagles squaring off with them? This is going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good game. I'm a little surprised at where the Commanders are right now. And for a while here, I'm just trying to figure out, where the Eagles are. What have they been? You can look in the NFL all the time and go, and you can either make the case for or against any team because there's just so many bad teams, right? Like the Eagles have played Cleveland. They had a squeaker against that god-awful team in Philly. They took care of business against a bad team in the Giants, so you don't get any bonus points for that, for kicking the shit out of somebody, but you lose points for beating a bad team tight. But right now, the game on Thursday is going to be spectacular. It's going to be here in Philly. I hope we have good weather for it. I hope that's not any part of the storyline with the game. It's a prime game on Thursday, and it's basically for the top of the division. Eagles are 7-2. The Commanders are 7-3, and they're legit because the rest of the division sucks. The Cowboys, they're cooked. That's over. You guys were talking about McCarthy before I got on.
Yeah.
And, I can't believe he's still there. The number one. And then the Giants suck out loud. The fact that they let Saquon end up here in Philly, anybody that was involved in that decision to allow that to happen should be looking for a job because that guy's been a massive difference here.
Is Saquon in the discussion for league MVP right now?
Got to be close to it. You look at Derrick Henry, who leads the league in rushing, used differently. But Saquon's got to be because of the effect that he's had on the team. He's just done it each and every game. The one game, one of their losses is the New Orleans game where he had the drop that ended up would have salted the game away, and they ended up losing that game. That's the only blemish on him so far. And then you couple that. You guys saw the run that he had a couple weeks ago. Come on. Dudes, NFL's dudes on the sideline were freaking out. Those are the best athletes in the world.
They beat New Orleans 15-12.
Or maybe it was the week after.
It was the Falcons game when they lost.
The Falcons game. Yep, correct. Yeah, Falcons came on. Yeah, that's right. Kirk Cousins led him all the way back. I'm going, this guy couldn't throw it in the ocean from the edge of the beach earlier in the game. Then he went on this monster drive after that. But Saquon's been – I'm a Penn Stater too. So, I got Saquon. I got love for Saquon from my university. So he's just been unbelievable, man. He's such a freak, like to jump backwards and over a dude. Like, come on, who thinks of that? You think of that maybe in a video game, not in the NFL.
Did the NFL fine him for that?
For jumping the dude?
Yeah, they didn't fine him for that. No, I didn't think so. No.
I haven't seen him play like that since the early to mid '90s in Barry Sanders, like when he lost his shoe. Like that dude was a freak, right?
You know what I like about Saquon, too? He seems like a pretty stand-up guy. When he was sitting on the bench with Sirianni, and Sirianni was asking him, hey, you're 11, 12 yards away from your all-time high, he said, let the other dudes eat. I'm good. You sure?
And that was against the Giants, too, like his former team. Yeah.
Speaking of running back, speaking of running backs in Philly, why did Miles Sanders fall out of favor?
It's a good question. He was kind of Saquon's backup at Penn State, and he had some pretty decent years here.
Yes.
He was due to get paid. And like with running backs, you got to be careful, right? Because they hit a cliff, and when they hit it, they don't just fall off. They fall off the earth, like a flat earther, right? They just poof, gone. So many guys like that. I remember Sean Alexander, who played for the Seahawks, was a total farm animal, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he couldn't get 2 yards.
Right.
It just goes off. I just didn't think they saw him as being a guy they could invest in and that they could use that money, get basically equal amount of performance for a lot less money when that guy's due to make the big coin. Yeah. And then when Saquon became available, that's a different story. That's a different level of guy, right?
Yeah. So you're in line.
Yeah, so that kind of paved the way for one Penn Stater to go and another one to stay.
Yeah, local kid. I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
Is you, Jason, with this Eagles coming up against Commanders, you guys have, some injuries you're looking at. Nakobe Dean. I'm thinking Goddard.
Goddard came back last week, so that's good.
Okay, Slay, he got hurt, but he ended up coming back as well, correct?
Yeah,
Slay?
he did. Yep.
So Now, even on the short weight in Devontae, now, even on the short week, do you expect all those guys to be back? And I mean, there's not going to be much practice because they'll be walked through and it's a short week. But do you expect them to be playing in as close to 100% as you can expect it on a short week and coming off?
Well, the good news for them with the short week is that a lot of those guys barely played in the second half after they established in that game last week. You got Hurts out of there. You got Saquon out of there. You got A.J. Brown and Devontae out of there. And they ended up spreading the ball, I think, to 7 different receivers. And there wasn't obviously a ton of urgency. So on a short week, you look for that to happen in front of it because that can be a big help. So hopefully that helps them, heal the body and the mind and the emotion and all of it a little bit quicker. You always worried about those games after Dallas, because of the emotion it was playing against the Cowboys and how big in Philly a deal they always made the Cowboys. I think that was mitigated a little bit this week so that you won't have the emotional letdown. I think it was more likely that they were looking past Dallas to the Commanders on a short week. I think they're in good shape. Goddard's going to be fine. Still missing Mailata, but Fred Jones has been good. They're in as good a shape as they are from a health standpoint right now. They've pretty much been all year.
You talk about the mental state of Philly after coming off of their game. I'm going to be curious to see how Washington responds, because that was a knockdown, drag-out game against Pittsburgh. Losing by 1 point, playing it to the bitter end. That's the first time Washington really has been challenged to the degree that they were in this past game. I want to see how they come back. Daniels didn't have his typical game that he's had all year. They couldn't run the ball in the Steelers. McLaurin was solid. They threw a lot of slants. You guys play a different defense. You're going to take the slant away. So I'm curious to see where Washington is mentally going into this. Are they
totally
going to
agree?
Yeah. Are they going to be? Let's put it this way. I know they're maturing, but are they over maturing right now? Should this be where they are next year, or is this a team that's really ready to make that jump?
Yeah, look, I'm a firm believer in belief in team sport. And sometimes, you can be off to a good start like they are, and they've earned their start at 7-3. And as you mentioned, to lose that game against a good Pittsburgh team, the way they lost it to at the very end, to not get the ball back and jump off sides on the hard count by Russell Wilson. So I wonder how they're going to respond to that, because now you're in a battle with a division team, basically for the top spot or number 2 spot in the NFC behind Detroit. So do they really believe they are where they belong, or are they trying to convince themselves that they're that team that's the 1, 2, 3 in the NFC that's a legit Super Bowl contender? Do they have that belief? I think that takes a little time to build up in a team, in a young team with a young quarterback. So I don't know how they'll respond this week, but it's an absolutely fair question, because I think, especially in the NFL, as segmented as that league is, I think that those elements play a real part in a team's preparedness and how they go into a game. They're all going to say they're confident and they got swagger and baloney. I don't give a shit what you say. We go by how you look. You know what I mean?
You still may not see Lattimore based on what I saw at the injury report this week, too. And I think they sat him last week for that specific purpose, to have him ready for you guys. That's a quick week.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, the average age of the Eagles is about 25 and a half years old. A young team. They got rid of Kelsey. Now he's competing with us for the best podcast out there. And last year, when they crumbled, what they lose like 5 of the last 6-7 games. They were putting that all on Hurts, all on Sirianni. The offense looks like it's clicking right now. How's the defense upholding? Because we watched the game. I believe it was the defense. How are they upholding their end of the bargain this year? And are they going to be able to sustain that going into the playoffs?
Yeah, that's been the thing to me that will let my mind go in the direction of them being a legitimate Super Bowl contender at this point. I've always been a firm believer, and some people go, you can't do that. You're just kind of changing your opinion. I'm not changing my opinion. You can change expectations in the middle of a sports season because you get data. You get information. You're allowed to go, I didn't expect the team to be 7-2. They are. They're better than I thought they'd be. I can change my expectations. So as we sit here now with that record, I think, they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. It's because have how Hurts has played the last 5 weeks, and he wasn't perfect against Dallas. He turned the ball over twice. But it's the collection of the weapons, the A.J. Brown, the Devontae Smith, the Saquon Barkley, the offensive line, Goddard, all of that. And then the real reason, though, is that other side of the ball. The way, Dallas gets that short off that turnover. It's 7-3. They hold him to a field goal there. That's a big spot in the game, right? Vic Fangio's got the defense really dialed in now. You saw on a couple of occasions where Dallas, their D-backs or their secondary players, were waiting on the Saquon on the one play and then on Jalen Hurts on another play on a design run up the middle where he got 24 yards. They're waiting for the player to come to them. You got to swarm and then have your group get in there. And I think you saw a really broken defense in Dallas, with the exception of Micah Parsons. And with the Eagles, you see everybody flowing to the ball. Zach Bond has been unbelievable, leads the team in tackles at the linebacker position. He's been good. Jalen Carter up front is a road grader. Oh, yeah. And you got some good Quinyon Mitchell, the rookie's playing well. You got Slay, and you got some other guys back there. So, yeah, they're doing a good job. I think the defense is the reason why they're a legit contender overall. If that defense wasn't doing what it has been doing, then maybe you go, okay, we'll see where they go from here. But right now, with how good they've been, again, always predicated if you can stay healthy. The only ability in sports that matters is availability. Give a shit how good you are if you're not available.
Hey, I think Mike Gott hit this on the head right here. I think Washington is where the Lions were last year or maybe 2 years ago. That a great point by him, because it's also Quinn's first year there. Now, Quinn was a head coach before. Obviously, he's got some great pieces around him in Kingsbury helping him out, but I agree with him. I do think that's where Washington is. I would not be surprised to see Philadelphia take it to them on Thursday night.
There's an arc for a team, right? There's arcs for teams. Like the old adage was, you got to get to the playoffs, show decent, and lose before you can win. I don't know if I believe that fully, but there is an arc to a team realizing its potential, and a lot of that is through having successes and having accomplishment. And there are steps in the ladder of accomplishment. So Washington kind of comes out of nowhere here and is becoming a legit franchise again. And maybe that's, a big thing that they're going to have to go through. We'll see. Very few teams just jump in and go.
Everyone's gone through that arc then, in other words, except for the Chiefs. And we've talked before.
Well, the Rams didn't back in the day when Kurt Warner came in.
I'm saying this year, right.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get a bump here eventually. Tired of seeing them win. But we said this year the league is AFC heavy oriented. A lot more. There's better teams in the AFC. Who are your top 3 NFC teams?
Right now in the NFC, I mean, obviously you've got to look at Detroit. They're 8-1. 8-1. Their point differential is 113. They're plus 113. That's a disgusting number 9 games into a season. They're absolutely legit. The other ones, I would probably say Minnesota, the Eagles, and then if I'm ranking a fourth one, it's probably the Commanders, based on what we've seen so far this year. San Francisco's one of those could be laying in the weeds teams. Another team could be laying in the weeds a little bit. Maybe all of a sudden, could a team like Arizona be laying in the weeds? I think that they have an arc of evolution too, but they've got some nice wins. So, but the legit teams, definitely Minnesota, definitely Detroit. The Eagles will be like a step down on the ladder from Detroit, right there with Minnesota, and then probably Washington. And this Thursday night will be a big step in determining where the Eagles are going and where Washington's going. This is, we're getting close to Thanksgiving. This is when shit really starts to hit the fan.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Jay, I got one more question for you, then we're going to move into some Flyers talk. But right. I'd be remiss, or we would all be remiss as Steeler guys at heart, to not ask about our boy Kenny Pickett.
He got in last week, former first rounder.
He did.
Yeah. I mean, look, I live in my house. My wife is from Western Pennsylvania. My in-laws all live out here now, and they're all huge Steeler fans. And when I went to Penn State, I couldn't stand Pittsburgh because I'd have to watch, Pittsburgh play some slop-ass Cleveland team that meant nothing, and the Eagles game wouldn't be on because they catered more to the Pittsburgh media market in the State College. But that said, I mean, how could you not admire the organization? They've had 3 coaches in my lifetime. I'm 52. The Eagles have had, I think, 5 coaches in my youngest daughter's lifetime. She's 13. You know?
Yeah.
And look, Pittsburgh drafts guys, and they know their DNA more than any franchise in sport. Hey, if you're going to fall in and you want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, you got to fall in. If you don't, you're out. Gone. You know, and they know who they are.
That being said, let's just set a hypothetical, and this is not to wish you bad luck. Let's say Hurts goes out for a little bit, okay? Whatever. Do you feel confident that Pickett could step behind center and continue with what you got going on there?
I don't know that I feel confident in it because I never like going to the backup in any situation. And this comes from a guy that the only Super Bowl they won in my lifetime was with a backup in Nick Foles over Carson Wentz, of course. But look, he's got the weapons. I mean, if he can manage it and, you know, make good throws, he is a former first-round pick. It's not like, you know, this is some scrub that doesn't have skills. He'll be put in a situation where he'll have protection. He won't feel phantom pressure, which I think a lot of times that's a big thing that affects a backup. They think the pressure's coming and they panic and they make bad decisions. So if he has to go in there for some period of time, it will depend on where they are in the schedule and where their health is on the outside with the receivers. You know, how they're running the ball with Saquon. That could be his best friend. Saquon could be his best friend for sure. Absolutely. And the way they control the offensive line. And that defense helps you too, because you don't get into a situation where you're chasing a game and you got to just chuck it. That's a bad situation for a backup quarterback, to be more predictable on what you got to do offensively, because you're trading points or you got to come back in a game.
And you obviously have a line there, and he never really had much of a line in Pittsburgh. Hey, let's go on to your Flyers, buddy. Let's talk Torts. What are you thinking about Torts? He's got some valuable young chips on that team. You know, is he going to last, though? That's the thing with Torts. He gets to a team, he gets them so far, and then he destroys them. What are your thoughts on
that's
Torts?
not true. That's not true now. The average tenure of an NHL head coach right now, and I have a theory on this, which I'll give you, is 2.45 seasons. That's the average tenure. Why is it just over 2? Because in hockey, when you're growing up, elite players, and at all levels of youth hockey, both here in Canada and overseas, each level is 2 years. So top players, when you're playing Tier 1 hockey or the top level of hockey in youth hockey, every 2 years you get a different coach. Because you leveled up I went from squirt to peewee to bantam to midget to junior. And every 2 years the coach changed, which is why I think the tenure of NHL head coaches is so small, because of that fact. They got a new voice every 2 years in those situations. A lot of kids that play that aren't top level players, they have the same coach for 7 years. It's a kid on the team's dad, right? So it's different. And Torts is a guy that his average length of tenure, if you take out Vancouver, where he was there for just 1 year, blew himself up, should have never taken a job, is what he told me. His average length of tenure is 6.2 seasons. Spent 7 years in Tampa, 6 years in Columbus, 6+ with the New York Rangers, and now he's in year 3 with the Philadelphia Flyers. So it's one of those misnomers. They think that he grinds guys so hard and he's just going to get himself in and out fired quickly. That's not true. The data does not support that. Is he a guy that's tough on guys? Absolutely. Do guys want to strangle him and swing their stick at his head at times? Absolutely. But there's a lot of guys that played for him that maybe didn't like it when they did play for him, but they realized that he was able to get them to play at a different level they didn't think they could break into. So that's a big part of it. And another misnomer with veteran coaches, and Torts is one of the oldest in the league right now, I think he might even be the oldest, is that they don't like to play young players. And with Torts, that's just not true. He's developed guys at every step along the way, whether it was Martin St. Louis back in Tampa. Cavalier was a top pick, so you can't really take credit for that. Or even going into Columbus with, the further development of Artemi Panarin or Zach Werenski, who you would have thought would have drove Torts crazy because he jumped up the ice as a defenseman all the time. So he's a guy that has developed young players because of his belief system and the non-negotiables. And I think the biggest element of his belief system is really simple. It's accountability is for everybody or it is for nobody.
Right.
So nobody is immune. He scratched Sean Couturier 2 weeks after he named him captain last year. Yeah. So, and obviously you had Mishkov out a couple of games in Tampa and Florida, but he came back last night against the San Jose Sharks and had a couple of points in the game winner in the shootout. So he's a tough guy. He's hard on guys. I'll tell you this story real quick. When the Flyers fired Vigneault and they finished out that season with Mike Yeo as the interim, at the end of that year, I was in a conference room at the training center doing my exit interviews with players. And Cam Atkinson came in, who played 6 years under Torts in Columbus, had a 40-goal season under him. And we got done taping the interview, and I asked him, I said, Cam, what do you think? Does Torts make sense here? Cam got up out of the chair, walked over to the door, shut the door, came back in and sat down, and we talked about Torts for 20 minutes. Loved him. He said he's absolutely what we need. And here's why. At the end of that year, I heard Keith Yandel. The Flyers, I think, won 24 games. They were hideous that season. Hideous. And Keith Yandel was on Spit and Chicklets and said, it was one of the most fun seasons I had as an NHL player. And that stuck out. I rewound it. How did you have fun when you guys sucked out loud? That's part of the problem. If guys are having fun and losing at a club like that, that's a fucking problem. This is not a country club. Yeah. Torts came in and made sure they knew it wasn't a country club.
That's good stuff. Hey, just breaking news. The Penguins dumped Lars Eller to Washington for 2 draft picks, a 5th in 2025 and a 3rd in 2027.
Well, they should have done this years ago. They should have started a sell-off. At that time, Hextall was brought in to do it, and then they changed ownership, and they weren't allowed to do it. But it would have really been breaking news if you'd have told me Mike Sullivan had gotten fired. I think that's probably going to come at some point.
I think there's something there that's preventing him from getting fired. Fenway Sports Group is I don't know. I don't know. You talk about the 2-year cycle. This guy's been living off of 2017 in the second cup for years now. Hasn't won a playoff series, so we're really in a bad spot.
I don't put it on him though. Look at how the team's constructed, how old they are. I mean, and then the GM goes out and brings in Eric Carl. Like, what are you doing?
Trash.
And that contract. I will tell you that I know this for a fact. I remember. I'll give you another little insight here. I sit with Torts every Monday, and I tape a podcast with him called Hockey and Hounds, where we talk about the team. And when we get done taping and we do the podcast about a half hour every week, we just shoot the shit for a little bit. And when the Flyers played the Penguins, there was like an 8-6 game last year. And I said, Jesus Christ, thank God Carlson was playing. He kept you guys in the game. He was absolute dog shit. If the puck came over their side, if the Flyers went over their side of the red line, he might as well just have pulled out a freaking lounge chair with a margarita. He has no interest in defending. And Torts, who's very close with Mike Sullivan, Sully coached under him for years, talks to him multiple times a week, said he is driving Sully absolutely fucking crazy. Because the guy just is disinterested in defending.
I don't like him. You had a guy who's very similar to him, and you had him under contract in Letang, and Letang works harder and plays harder than Carlson. He may not have that 100-point season as a defenseman, but who the hell cares?
Yeah,
you know?
and you already have Letang there, and he's old. You know, look, Father Time's coming for that team, and you just can't. I get why you try and keep the window open as long as you can, but Kyle Dubas is in an impossible situation because you got to manage the contract that you had to sign with Malkin. You have to manage the Letang contract. You have to manage. Look, Crosby's still playing at elite level, and I won't say that he's not. But I mean, Gensel ends up leaving after they trade him last year and signs down in Tampa this offseason. So, I mean, I just – it's going to be a long time for the Penguins. It's going to take a lot. They don't have anything in the cupboards either. They've traded it all.
How about your boy Jeremy Roenick getting into the Hall of Fame after 16 years?
He should have been in sooner, frankly. And I've known JR for a very long time. He's a fucking lunatic. But he was a great hockey player, one of the great USA-born players of all time. Stepped up in big situations, was a great personality when hockey players were afraid to show any. I'm thrilled for him. I know that it's been a rough couple of years with all the crap that happened with NBC and all that stuff, but yeah, I'm very happy for him. He actually played with a couple of guys that I grew up playing with, and I'm friends with to this day in junior at Hull. He actually played for Alain Vigneault at Hull in the Quebec Major Junior League, and he roomed with a buddy of mine, Jim Moore. And when he got called up, I remember he called the Moore house when I was there, and I answered the phone, and he was on the phone after he scored that playoff goal and got his tooth knocked out. So I've known him a long time, so I'm very happy for him. He deserved to be there. He deserved to be there sooner than he was. But he's at the place where he belongs now, for sure.
Very passionate and emotional. Acceptance speech.
Yeah.
You guys haven't seen it? Take a look. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Hey,
he's a good guy, man. He was a lot of fun having around when he was here. You know, you never wondered what JR was thinking. He'd tell you. And there was not a lot of fluff and not a lot of bullshit involved. That's the thing with sports. They always go, why do you even listen to the athlete? They don't say anything. But then when they do, people go, shut up. Why are you saying that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly. You can't
exactly.
complain they say nothing, and when they do, you get mad at them.
Yeah.
JR towed that line pretty good.
Hey, Jason, I'm gonna bring us to a close here, but I do have one more question for you. Flyers 6-8-2 right now. Losing record at home, losing record on the road. Obviously, 3-4 both places. They're at -14 differential. But can this team turn it around? Like you said, they've got a lot of young talent in Mishkov, Andre. They've got Jacob Goucher playing at a pretty elite level at the AHL.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to be an NHLer with Gauch, but I mean, they have 12 players under 25, the third youngest team in the league.
Yes, sir.
And it's been a really uneven start, and frankly, 5-on-5 has just been ugly for the most part until the last maybe 3 or 4 games. Power play's been better. PK has done exactly what it did last year, and it's top 3 in the league. They just have had trouble scoring 5-on-5. That's starting to look like it's coming around a little bit now, and they're starting to show signs of the team they were last year, in particular in transition, to create transition offense and defend less. My thing going into the season was I think they're going to score more, but can they prevent less goals than they gave up last year? Now, last year when they started, obviously Carter Hart was here, and he and Anderson were a great tandem. And when Hart left, Anderson hung on for a little bit, but you had a really good situation in goal with Hart and Anderson. Now it's a big question mark with even Anderson as the one. I think he's got off to a really good start, but with Fedotov or Kolosov as your backup, where do you kind of stand there?
Yeah.
And that's such a big element. And they're not going to be a team that like Edmonton where they can just outscore their mistakes, and win 6-3, 6-4, on a number of occasions. So they're a sum of the parts team. Where they're going, I don't know. This is a really important stretch for them from now until the end of the month. They're actually off to only last year. I mean, they got such a great start, put themselves in position last year. They're actually in 1 game behind where they were last year.
Wow.
They only had 7 wins at 16 last year at this time. So they're certainly not out of it. They have a 5-game homestand that they're going to open up on Saturday after Ottawa on Thursday. And how they fare between now and the end of the month, I think will give us an indication of where they really are. I got some guys playing good. I think Couturier's playing really well. Konechny's point-per-game player, absolute animal. Mishkov is right there as well. Sanheim, I think, has been spectacular. Have to see how injuries affect them throughout the season. But, look, I thought that it was going to be tough for them to make the playoffs, even though they had 87 points last year. They had to get into that area where, you're scoring more than 3 goals a game because it's a race to 4 league.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they've won 4 games already where they've scored 2 goals or less in regulation, which is rare. That's a hard way to do business in the NHL.
Absolutely.
So we'll see where it goes, but they're trending in the right direction right now, 5-3-1 in their last 9.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this season plays out for them, for the Penguins, even the Islanders, who are functioning well below where they were expected to be, even though they lost some pieces. Jason, thanks for joining us, man. We have to bring you back probably around Steelers-Eagles time. You guys beat the living snot out of the Steelers every time they come to the Eagles. It'll be interesting to see what happens this year, which way both teams are trending at that point. And we thank you very much for talking Flyers with us, too. I wish they'd bring back the old rivalry there, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. It's just nothing now, though. So
the conference, yeah.
Yeah, rivalries are only good when the teams are playing for equal footing at the top, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, for so many years you had the rivalry against, the Phillies and the Mets, but it's like, okay, but the Phillies either sucked or the Mets sucked. What kind of rivalry is that?
Exactly.
Rivalry is all kind of just put together on playing really meaningful games and having it go to a different level when that it wouldn't go against another opponent.
Yeah.
So,
hey,
boys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll
this segment is brought to you by Headblade.
Oh, absolutely. My wife just got me one of those things, the electric thing. Yeah.
Oh, you got to go straight razor, brother.
I usually do.
Mine's like a baby's ass. No burr in this saddle.
I'm sure the wife loves it too.
Well, you let me know.
Hey,
boys, thanks.
Take care. Good luck Thursday night, bud.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
See you guys. Thanks, Chops. See you guys.
Excellent stuff from him, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see how the Eagles play out the rest of the season because it's a highs and lows kind of season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And same thing for the Flyers. They got a lot of young talent. So, hey, fellas, we need to wrap this up. It's been an unbelievable show. You can find Rasheen everywhere at Rasheen Hill. He's on Facebook. He's even on TikTok now, he told me. So that's awesome. T-Sizz, you can find him as One T Youngie. He's on Instagram. He's on. Are you even on Facebook? Here and there.
Chop's got so many aliases. You got to put it on the scroll bar down here. What? It doesn't even fit on his little cubicle.
Man, I'm everywhere, brother. I'm like the student loan people. I'm everywhere. I'll find you. I'm everywhere. I'm on on the X, the Real Big Chops, on the gram, Big Chop 79, on TikTok, Big Chops 824, and on Facebook by my government. Michael Gregory Mills. Holla at your boy.
MG Mills. Hey, you can find the Original Sports. You can find the Original Sports Podcast on our pod page at Original Sports Podcast with Mark Maradei. You can find us on Facebook, X, Snapchat at OSP with MM. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at Original Sports Podcast. Big shout out to all our networks. Let's Talk Sports, Sideline Sports, Elite Sports and Entertainment Network, Manning Media, and Peak One Sports Network. You can find all our socials on our link tree, which is in our show notes. Feel free to let us know if you have any comments, questions, suggestions for future guests, or you just want to break some balls or maybe come on yourself by emailing us at originalsportspodcast@gmail.com. Shout out to Steve Medley and Charlie Hodgson for the voice intro and the music. We'll see you next Tuesday to experience the O on the Original Sports Podcast.